Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of All You Can Eat Chelsea. And everybody's been craving and questioning, where is this show? Why is it not on Thursday? Why are we taking our beloved All You Can Eat Chelsea? And where can we find you? Where's your address? So we can talk this out. Do you know what I'm saying? Man to man. That's what I've been seeing. You need to relax, all right? The content was always coming. I would never do this to you. Yes, it's late. And lateness is greatness, but we had to push this a little bit closer to the final because, as you can see, we've got a special guest in the building. He's been on the show before, from the Big Six, of course, as well. Grizz, let's start with you. How are you doing, my brother? Because you know we're brothers, but this game is now a problem, isn't it?
It's a problem. It's a problem for both of us, but we still remain brothers, just like Younes and Miz. We're one big family today. You know, we're all smiling. The calm before the storm. Use any analogy you want. It is what it is, man. But yeah, pleasure to be on, my friend. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to have you and the cast and crew, Miz and Younes. Miz, I'll start with you, bro. How are you doing? It's a big game, bro. It's a big game.
Yeah, it's a massive game, man. Yes, it is the calm before the storm, but Grizz is in enemy territory today, so he ain't going. He ain't leaving here without getting grilled.
Do you know what I thought before our chat, before we went live? I thought we refrained from using those words, enemy and territory. But you went straight in, bro. Like 30 seconds, Miz went straight into the enemy and territory business.
We are not letting Grizz go away or happy from this.
I was going to say, are we going to take it easy on it? No, we're not.
No way. I see how Grizz moves in Big Six. There are times where I want to jump in and say, well, hold on a minute. He can't get away with that.
Not a problem, man. But Matisse will tell you, I have a way with words. So you may not need to have a go at me, man. Just please, calma.
Don't go anywhere, as they say. You always say. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it's his silence that annoys me the most. It's like, oh, the man's not talking. I'm so angry.
Don't be angry. Don't be angry.
Younes, bro, talk to me. How are you doing? Pleasure to be back as always, man.
Yeah, man, big time. Obviously, yeah, people thought we abandoned them. No, we didn't. We got a guest lined up. But yeah, man, I'm good. I'm looking forward to this. I mean, Chelsea, Liverpool, I'm not going to lie, I was scared. We're going to get into a little bit of detail, obviously, because of what happened in midweek in the Champions League. But when I saw Kovacic's get injured, I started getting worried. I started thinking, oh, my God, Liverpool might do this. But now it's looking like it's all going to be okay. So, Grizz, bring your boys on. We'll see you at Wembley.
But let's start actually with any injury concerns, because obviously, like I said, Kovar and Ziyech were hobbling off against Lille. Massive concern for us because two of our best players really over recent months, Firmino and Jota, were out last weekend, and I think midweek they definitely were out. I'm not sure about all the way back into last weekend. But Grizz, how are your injury concerns looking now? Is Jota at least going to be back for this? Is it looking like?
Yeah, looks like Jota will be back. When we say back, sort of probably around the squad, like in terms of maybe substitute. He probably won't come straight back into the lineup, but he's definitely fit. He's scheduled to start training today, hopefully, fingers crossed. And Klopp's got this rule where it doesn't matter who you are, you have to have 2 training sessions before you're allowed back in the squad, in the first team squad. So he's got to come through today. Today's Friday, right? Yeah, today's Friday, and tomorrow's Saturday. So he's got to complete 2 training sessions, and then he'll be in the squad. By looking like he will be, Bobby's not. So the only person that we've got missing, top of my head, is Bobby Firmino. Apart from that, it's a full squad.
Wow. I mean, what a beautiful thing that must be to say, is that you got a full squad, because I know, Liverpool have had their injury issues, a lot of injury prone players, especially in certain areas. And now everybody's ready to go, especially on a big day like this. For us, I'm not going to lie, my confidence does sit with one particular issue, and I'm sure Miz will potentially agree, but we'll see. I won't put any words in his mouth. My confidence goes up 25% and drops 25%, depending on one individual starting or not starting, and that is Lukaku up front. We saw against Lille, I was at the game at Stamford Bridge, and we played so well, Grizz. It was a breath of fresh air, best performance probably since Tottenham all those weeks ago, and a major part of that was because of Lukaku not starting. And for me, when I look at the way your defense is, and Van Dijk and Konate and even Matip, I think if they had Lukaku, it's bread and butter. We saw it at Anfield as well. Even those counterattacks and transitions in the draw. And we're going to go back through the previous results and see if they have any inkling into what's going to happen. But I feel like someone like Kai Havertz up top, that movement, that dropping deep, interlinking with other players, moving from left to right, not really having a stationary position, not really having a defender that pins him, is more likely to cause them problems than a Lukaku. But what would you feel about that, Grizz?
I would 100% agree with you, but it's not even just against Liverpool. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I feel as though some of your best performances have been without Lukaku, especially in terms of attack, in terms of fluidity, in terms of interplay, in terms of goals as well. I mean, I know, against Norwich they had 10 men, whatever, but you scored 7 or something. Your performances, obviously, in the Champions League when Havertz played that false 9 against Man City, against us, when Lukaku was absent the other day, when we played you at Stamford Bridge, it's been a strange way of integrating the most expensive player. It seems from the outside, like with no plan. Abandoning what he not built last season, because it's unfair to say he had time to build any kind of rhythm or fluidity in your attack, but sort of you could see what he was trying to work towards with loads of movement with Werner, Havertz, Ziyech, sometimes Pulisic, sometimes Hudson-Odoi, and then just a sort of it's not even a slight revamp, to bring in someone like Lukaku is a total different way of sort of setting out an attack. So look, Lukaku's had his issues and problems, and obviously you guys will know more. But for Sunday, in terms of Sunday, I have to admit, even though it may come back to bite me in the ass and this could get clipped up and everything, but I would prefer if Lukaku played. Now that's crazy. Like, if you asked me that 3-4 months ago, shit, Lukaku's out, you guys would be worried. I'd be ecstatic, But I agree with you. Whoever's playing Konate or Virgil or Matip and Virgil, Lukaku wouldn't be too much of an issue. Whereas we have slightly struggled against the likes of Brighton, even when they played without a target man. They played with mobile forwards, so to speak. Like City, our 2 hardest games this season have been Brighton and Man City. I know we lost to West Ham and, and who else did we lose to? I can't remember now. But they weren't a problem. That was just our fuck-ups, our bad play. In terms of overall game management, Brighton and Man City give us the hardest problem, and that was because they played no target man, just a fluid movement. And I think Tuchel is going to do exactly the same to us.
I really hope. I mean, Miz, we say it with I say it with such ease. We'll see what you're about to say, but not starting £100 million investment striker in a team that needed goals at the end of last season as well, that weren't really hitting their conversion rate at the greatest of times, at the most of times. It's crazy. But again, I'm saying, you got to drop him for a cup final like we did in midweek. How do you feel about it? What's your stance on that striker position, especially how we played in midweek, obviously with him being rested, dropped? I don't know. Those quotes are obviously misconflicting. He's saying that he was fit. Tuchel saying maybe he wasn't. I don't know.
I think in a crazy manner, this works out for us fantastically in the sense that, I don't know about you, Matisse, you were in the stadium. I was watching it, through my TV, and couple of impact that has had by not having Lukaku start.
Yeah.
One, it seems like the other players were determined to show the gaffer, we can do it without Lukaku. You've ignored us far too long. Now we're going to show you how we play without him. And in fact, we can play better. I just got that feeling watching him, like, these players, I've not seen that much determination for like weeks. They seem so disjointed, so disoriented when they had Lukaku up front. As soon as it was taken off and against Lille, they were all buzzing. The touches, Lukaku 7 touches for Crystal Palace. If you compare the Crystal Palace 7 touches and Kai Havertz's plethora of touches,
47.
Bro, it was literally the entire field. Kai Havertz. There was a lot of people saying in social media, if you thought Kante was an engine, Kai Havertz is the Kante of the attack. Like he was literally everywhere. Everywhere. And that creates a bit of an issue for Liverpool because that's not one player then. That it's literally moving everywhere. So it becomes like a multiple. That's why I say multifaceted, multidimensional is
those words are giving me goosebumps.
Do you know what I mean? Kai Havertz is that type of a player. Now, combine that with the recent Athletic article that just came, I think it was yesterday or day before. They were saying that a lot of the forwards were quite surprised that they've been overlooked recently for that striker position or that forward position. So I think from, I suppose a message to the Liverpool sort of fan base out there is that you're not only this is not just a final, you're going to face a forward pack that is so determined to do well because their careers depend on it. I don't know whether, I know Liverpool as a team and as their front line, they're just so well drilled and I'm sure they're going to do a professional job like they always have. But when you come across a individual that is fighting for their life and their career, that becomes a different demon. Do you know what I mean? Like that adds a different dimension to a person's game. And I think that's what they're going to see come Sunday. Our forwards are going to, it's not just the final, it's their life pretty much that they're playing for. I feel like some of them, they want to really impress. So it's kind of, it's a blessing in disguise. Hopefully Lukaku doesn't start.
I'm going to move on to expand on that point in just a second. I think when you look at that spirited, committed performance that you're talking about with that attack, trying to prove themselves, the same thing that we did see in that Liverpool game. It was actually the game after Lukaku's interview. He was dropped for that reason. Obviously the 2-2 draw, and Pulisic stepped up, a few others as well. It was a much better performance in, from the team, having him out. Obviously Lukaku before that had good performances, but I mean, Younes, in terms of Lukaku, he seems to be, for me, I liken him to Ronaldo. Man United fans don't like it, right? And it's not even me trolling. It's not even me trolling. They really don't like it when I bring up Ronaldo, because I feel like Lukaku started this disjointed, number 9, traditional, can't get involved with the rest of the team, doesn't interlink very well, can't be serviced, right? Ronaldo is having the same issues right now at Manchester United. I've watched their last few games. Atletico, I'm seeing Leeds. They're getting goals. Leeds 4 goals, but again, disjointed, not in the team, not really involved with the rest of the play. Not only are we playing better without Lukaku, but I'm looking at, if the season doesn't improve, Younes, like drastically improve, selling him or getting rid of him, just in any shape, way or form, whether it's got to be a loan over again, we have to always get ourselves back into these issues because we buy players that don't work out and then we have to loan them out over an accumulation of different years to try and get our money back over loan fees or swap deals or whatever. But we were just discussing as well about Lukaku starting this game. Is he just a complete no-no for you as well? Just absolutely can't play, or is there any hope in this guy turning up in that right channel?
I'm glad you said as well, which means that all of you agree that he shouldn't, which I'm glad, because there's no way he starts. Look, as far as I'm concerned, the team that we started the game against Lille need to be the team that start against Liverpool. That's just the way that I see it. I think it was perfect in terms of the setup, in terms of the fluidity, the way that we moved. Everything was great. And if we're going to pile at least some sort of pressure or try and take some sort of control from the game against Liverpool, that's the best setup. And that's the best 11. So, no. Lukaku definitely on the bench, shouldn't be playing. And I think it's now clear to see why. You saw how good it was with Kai Havertz up top. And yes, we know we're not expecting him to turn into, I don't know, flipping, old school Alan Shearer who just scores every single week. Like, we know that's not going to happen, but it's a lot better than what we've been given with Lukaku up top. And yes, there may be cases for the fact that Lukaku isn't as involved as we'd like him to be, whether that's down to him or down to the midfield or the team, whatever. Truth is, he's not. With Havertz, he is. So, yeah, we go with Kai up top. There's no way Lukaku starts this. And I agree with you. In terms of moving forward, look, I think we now come to the realization, me included, I wanted the Lukaku deal to happen. It happened. I was buzzing. I was like, yes. I think we were a lot more caught up in the fact of, he's coming back. he's not a boy anymore. He's a man. He's going to finish the job. It's the last piece of the puzzle. We got a striker. It's going to be great, without actually paying attention to what he's bringing to the role. And I think, you know, myself included, we got that wrong. He doesn't fit. It's as simple as that. He just doesn't fit. On top of the fact of what happened with the interview, that's just made it completely worse. It's taken away the emotional factor from it all.
Yeah.
And now we just look at it rationally, 100%, no emotion.
Which I like.
Which is good. Yeah, it's good. For the sake of the team, it's good. But Kai needs
so
to
easy to analyze now. He's so easy to analyze.
It's super clear now. Blue tinted glasses are thrown out the window.
This nostalgia and all this. He's coming home. Get out of my club. How about that?
And yet now we need to sell him or loan him at least, just to get some sort of value back. We have to.
I'm looking at the lineup that we came up against Liverpool. Grizz, no Thiago. It was James Milner in the team at Stamford Bridge. I expect Thiago Silva to start. Potentially a Thiago Silva, Fabinho, Henderson, or maybe Harvey Elliott sneaks in there. But talk to us about the difference Thiago is going to make. I know we've been... Well, you had to fight your case of the big six with Thiago. I didn't agree that he was so-called renowned as a flop. I don't think either of the two players were a flop, but Thiago definitely not being a flop. But talk to us about the difference that he could make, especially on a big Wembley pitch, with the technique and the dictating of the tempo that he can bring to the game, just change everything up for Liverpool in every regard.
Yeah, Thiago hasn't played in either of the games against you guys this season. He didn't play in the first game, and he didn't play in the Stamford Bridge game. He came on with about 15 minutes to go in the game at Anfield, and it showed. It's probably Chelsea are the only team in both games that have not let us control the midfield. And Thiago Alcantara wasn't playing. So this is just further evidence. I've got a whole heap of evidence about Thiago. You know this, and I didn't need to put it out against Turkish in the show.
That was, by the way, that was mad from Turkish.
He knows a howler, but we pushed it for the agenda, for the narrative, for the clicks, for the likes. You know, he knew it was a howler.
And the retweets.
The moment he said it, he knew it was a howler. He think he's a flop. The guys. I mean, obviously, look. Everyone's seen Thiago throughout his career. Since 2008, there's only been one season where he's not won anything, right? Apart from last season, where we know Liverpool's situation was a bit drastic. Even last situation, he came in, you know, and then just realized he's playing amongst, you know, Reece Williams and Nat Phillips and our right back, I've got his name, we've sent him out to Fulham. You know, Nico Williams, right? And, you know, he was amongst kids and third, fourth, fifth choice players. In the end, we needed him to come back from an injury that he was out for 3-4 months. When he came back, we were 10 points behind the fourth place team. 10 points. I think it was you guys, or I can't remember.
Maybe Leicester, someone like that. Yeah, one of us.
10 points behind with 12 games to go, and everyone had written us off. Thiago comes back into that fold with Fabinho, and we won 11 of our last 12. And he played in every single one of those. If that's not an impact, I don't know what people want as an impact, because he was the only difference, Matisse. And guys, he was the only difference. He came back. We still played Reece Williams. We still played Nat Phillips at the back. We done everything what we were doing. So the only difference was Thiago Alcantara was back in our midfield. This season, he's got a 100% record. 100% record. When he started the game, we've won every single game.
Wow.
I don't know what people are looking for. I'm not a big stats man, because we know stats can be skewed and sort of taken into however we want to take them, right? But stats tell you that he's insane levels of control. And that's what we want. When we've got the strike force that we've got, we need to have resemblance of control and then let them do their thing. Where we've struggled against Man City and Chelsea was when we didn't have control. They were still doing, our attack was doing sporadic things against you guys, like taking a 2-goal lead, you know, right? But we had no control. We had absolute zero control in that game. Same like Man City. You know, Mohamed Salah scored a wonder goal, you know, against Man City, whatever. You know, Sadio Mane scored a brilliant goal. It was 2-2 in the end, but we had no control. Thiago Alcantara was the key element missing. And I'm hoping I'm hoping he was definitely playing. He's definitely starting. That changes, and I think, Thiago Alcantara is a wonderful, wonderful player. And people compare him. Oh, he's not. He's hitting 30 now, and he's had loads of little injuries. And it is when you get to that age with so many injuries, it starts taking its toll. So he's not has to be managed. It's time management, minute management. But he's been rested. He's been played 30 minutes off. Very much like Kante. Kante's been picking up so many injuries, missing key games for you guys. But when he's playing, you can sit back and relax a little bit. That we've got whatever happens, we've got Kante. Yeah, he's like, I'm sure you're probably gonna go on to ask me later on probably that who am I looking out for? But Thiago Alcantara is one player that you should definitely be looking out for, because he may not get that goal and assist, but what you see is him controlling the midfield. And that's key when you're playing a team like Chelsea.
And for me to combat all of this is obviously you got to go match them 3v3. I think the last thing we want to do in midfield is get outnumbered by Liverpool with whoever they play as that third midfielder. I'm definitely sure Fabinho is going to start and Thiago. I'm just not sure whether it's going to be Elliott or Henderson. He may go towards Henderson for experience, but I would be more afraid of Elliott playing in that right-hand side of midfield, especially if he's doubling up with Salah and Trent down that side. And we're going to talk about that dynamic.
At Anfield in that first game, it was massive. I was at that game. And and we found out Elliott was playing. That was a huge, huge call. It will be a massive, but Klopp does this shit, man. Klopp does this shit. Like final, he may think Elliott deserves this young player, give him the reward for having such a brilliant start to the season and then being nearly his ankle fractured. He may think it's a good idea, but I think 70% of Liverpool fans know and think it's going to be Henderson. It's going to be his captain. But you never know. It's Carabao Cup. It's Jurgen Klopp. He does wild things. Wild things.
For me, to combat this, we got to, like I said, go 3v3. I think Mason, if he's fit, or Ziyech, one of those two have got to start. Obviously, Ziyech come off early in the game against Lille. He's been huge for us in the last couple of months. I think you could ask of him to drop, and he's done it many times. He's actually taken a lot of tactical responsibility recently to drop into midfield against Tottenham. He was playing at right wing back. Sometimes he was coming central. Then he was pushing up to the right flank as well. Mason, we know, is going to drop in if he has to and become a 3v3. Younes, for you, is it important that we match them, or are you more looking to maybe try and go on the attack in this game? Like, what would be your mindset of how we should approach this game in terms of Liverpool? Because Mason hasn't really been playing well, I don't think. But would he be used in this type of game tactically, or would you go with maybe some of the players that are in form to try and give them problems and throw it back into them in terms of what are you going to do to respond to us?
It's a difficult one. With Liverpool, it's hard. I think it's harder to analyze how to play against Liverpool than it is against Man City, if I'm honest, because with Liverpool, I do think the right way to play is to hit them at face value and just attack, try and put them on the back foot. Because if you put them on the back foot, you kind of nullify what they can do in terms of going forward. But at the same time, they have that ability going forward. And it's a case of we've been really good in terms of a back four recently. We haven't been so great in terms of a back three. But against Liverpool, I feel like it's probably best we go with a back three just to add that additional cover, because if you leave space for their front line, it's a wrap. So it's difficult. It's difficult because, again, if you play in a back three, then you kind of do limit yourself going forward. But I do think the best approach is to go forward. So yeah, Thomas Tuchel will have homework. I'm sure he's had loads of homework actually this entire week to try and prepare for this. But honestly, my gut, just my gut. We're not here pretending we have flipping UEFA Pro licenses, but my gut is telling me we go over back four and we go over what's been working in terms of going forward, and we try and just control the game and try and get them panicking a little bit. And then you're just going to have to hope that Rudiger and Thiago Silva and whoever's playing as our fullbacks, who should have some pace. Because if we go over wing-back system, we have Aspie and Alonso. Ouch. With Mo Salah and all them lot. I don't want to even entertain that. You go over back four, you might have some additional cover. But going forward, it's probably our best chance to cause some sort of threat. So Honestly, I'd go with the players more in form. I think Ziyech is the first name on the list. He's fit, apparently. Him and Kovacic are okay. They only picked up impact knocks, so it's fine. So they should be playing. In terms of Mason, if we're going with the same team that beat Lille, then yeah, Mason doesn't go in. But Mason's definitely a threat later on in the game. If we're having to bring him on, for example, to just keep the intensity high and keep Liverpool on a bit of a panic or keep the press up, then great. He has a vital role. So it's going to be interesting to see how Tuchel sets this one up, because I think none of us are going to get this right. I think Tuchel's going to come up with something completely different. Wait and see, though.
Yeah. I mean, Miz, in terms of midfield as well, the assumption's always made that Jorginho, I mean, I probably would look at this game and think about the pitch and how big it is, and think about Liverpool and jousting with them back and forth, and there could be that back and forth. But then again, if Thiago now is obviously going to play, it could be a different type of game that we saw at Stamford Bridge, where it was a lot more back and forth, especially when we went 2-0 down. There was no control in the game. Kova and Kante was in midfield. Kova and Kante are a pivot that are obviously a bit confusing, because they can have great games together, but we all know the deficiencies with that pivot is the fact that they will leave a bit of space in mind. Neither of them are a sitter, so it's not the best balance in the world, but some games it does work, like the Liverpool game at Stamford Bridge. But Jorginho is there as well, and Jorginho did play at Anfield last season. He did play at Anfield at the start of this season as well, where we got good results. So I don't think it's what it's made out to be with Jorginho, where if he doesn't play, or if he does play, then Liverpool are going to absolutely pile on him, take advantage of him, and just completely manipulate the midfield. But what do you think in terms of midfield and that third person, or would you play all three of them? But again, that goes against maybe what Younes is looking at in terms of not being too defensive in this situation.
I think it's going to have to be such a flexible tactical display from us. I think Younes is onto something, because I spoke to Ryan and I did a tactical show yesterday, and I asked Ryan about what he pictures is the best way to combat Liverpool for this particular final. And it all starts from the fact that, how do we negate our weakness? Our biggest weakness is going to be the left-sided. If we go with the wing-back situation with Alonso, you best believe they're going to try and load up, which they did the last time as well, as much as they can on the left side, and try and have a lopsided attack where Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold and whoever else they play in midfield, they will try and load up that side so that they can outnumber us and play the ball behind Alonso and really blitz us with their pace on that side. And that could be a very, very big problem. So when you think about, okay, how do we negate that? I think the best way to go is you got to play Sa. And what Ryan was saying, and it made a lot of sense, and it goes with what Younes was saying, you play with a 4-1-4-1. So you play, 4 in defense. So you go with Sa, Silva, Sa, Rudiger, Silva, Azpilicueta. They play with Jorginho. You've got your left centre mid or left mid as Kovacic. You got N'Golo Kante as the right mid, and then you play up front with
Ziyech, Pulisic on the sides.
Pulisic, Ziyech, and Havertz, right? Yeah. So that is with the ball. With the ball, you've got the 4 at the back. Without the ball, what it allows us to do to negate that pace that they're going to have in the flanks is Sa becomes LCB. Rudiger becomes center of the 3, and Silva will become RCB. So you've got 3. And then you've got wing-backs, auxiliary wing-backs, I suppose, when in defending. Pulisic will come back, and his work rate against Lille, if you guys noticed, Pulisic's work rate was immense the way he was defending. He was helping out Alonso a lot. So he'll drop back as a wing-back. Aspi would naturally become a right wing-back. And basically, we are set for the defense. So I think that's the tweak that we've got to do. We cannot afford to play Alonso. Maybe play Alonso if we're behind. If we're 80th minute, 1-0 down, we need someone off the bench to come and add an extra bit of impetus, maybe do that. But from the get-go, I think we need to have Sa to negate that, but then you play, the 4 top forwards. So I kind of like that. And I think, to go back to your midfield question, you'll have Jorginho, Kovacic, and Kante. And those 3 are our supreme midfielders. When it comes to controlling a game, you play those 3 midfielders. Liverpool are going to find it very difficult to outplay us in midfield with those three players. Naturally, those three do not get beaten possession-wise, besides probably in recent times, I can only remember Man City. But even Man City, I remember Sarri days and even probably not so much Lampard days, but Sarri days when we had Jorginho, Kante and Kovacic. Even Man City allowed us to have the ball because they knew those three are too difficult in order to play toe-to-toe possession-based football, because they just know how to just quick passes, little passes and quick passes to build up from the back, and they know how to beat the press. So for me, I would go with that. I would look to play 4 at the back and have a flexible sort of transitional off the ball, on the ball, and I would also look to play the 3 best midfielders, Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic.
I think when I heard this from Ryan on the byline, I did disagree with him. And the reason why I disagreed with this plan was that I don't trust Malang Sarr in the back 3 when we shuffle across as much as I trust Rudiger on that left-hand side. And when you're looking at that left-hand side, Malang Sarr and Pulisic, for me, that is weaker than Rudiger and Alonso, because Rudiger cleans up a lot of Alonso's so-called mess. Same way Tomori did at Stamford Bridge under Lampard as well. Alonso's played against Liverpool a lot of times now, and he hasn't been exposed maybe to the level that it's made out to be. He has had a few moments in some games. I think Anfield, there was a moment. Stamford Bridge, there may have been a moment, but he has also had good games against Liverpool as well. There has been some good games from Alonso. And I think the worst thing you can do against Liverpool for me is go 4v3 with their attack. I think, especially when it's Mane that will probably start, not Jota. Jota kind of drops in and, he might become part of the midfield and make it some sort of diamond. Firmino does that very well. When it's Mane, I think that front 3 is going to be so high up and they're going to be looking to press from the front. And again, in possession, do I trust Malang Sarr in the back 3? Probably not at all as well. I think for me, it's very important to go with the best defenders that you've got at the football club in that back 3 to try and, from a numbers point of view, match them up. And obviously you add the wing backs to that. But Rudiger, Christensen, Silva, for me, those are the 3 best defenders that we've got, and also the defenders that have played the big games. They've played the Champions League finals. They've played all of these, and they're ready for that level of task. If you throw a Malang Sarr into that back 3, I can see a howler from a mile away. And I think to the second point I would make as well is that on that left-hand side, we can't become, for me, if we go to a back 4, Malang Sarr is of no use going forward, of course. So he's going to be very stationary. Azpilicueta, not great going forward either. Going to be pretty stationary. I think one of Liverpool's weak points, or one of their few weak points, is their right-hand side of their defence. Because Trent is so heavily involved going forward, and he's been a lot better defensively this season, but because sometimes that Inter Milan game, he was caught out a few times, I'm really looking for anything from their defence that is going to be a weak point, because Robertson on the other side is imperious. But Trent, when he gets forward and he gets into midfield and he starts trying to, take those shots from distance or trying to create opportunities, because he is, for me, probably their biggest creative outlet, or one of their biggest, there sometimes will be a gap there. And they usually do cover it. But I think Alonso, with the way that he attacks, I think he will be looking to take advantage of that in any way, shape or form. And I think I agree with you with them moving across, but I would just have them move across the other way with Rudiger coming across to match Salah's pace, but also the actual defending, because I don't think Sarr can handle Salah at all, defending wise. And I don't think he can handle Trent. I know Sarr's been decent recently and he's had decent games, but I just don't think on this big Wembley pitch in a final, I want to see him going up against one of the most informed player in the world right now. It's something that would terrify me.
You were in the match, and apparently I saw a tweet from Adam Newson on the same day where Thomas Tuchel was screaming, Marcos, 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 because we saw it in I'm sure Younes will agree with me as well. Jonathan Bamba, I believe, and it was Renato Sanchez. The amount of time they went behind Alonso with a long ball. And you best believe, I'm telling you right now, and I want to hear what Grizz has to say. If they see Alonso starting, and I get your point, Matisse, that generally he hasn't done that bad. I remember, I think the last game we played, it was a ball, correct me if I'm wrong, Grizz, I think it was a Henderson ball that went behind, and then Salah went in and he ended up scoring. That was the second goal. And that was behind Alonso as well. It was a chip ball, nice and early ball, and Salah got in, and then he was 1v1 with Rudiger, and we couldn't manage him. So if Thiago Alcantara is playing for them, you better believe he is targeting that side. And yes, you're also right that Liverpool's weakness is we're going to focus on that Trent Alexander-Arnold space that he's going to leave. And if it is Alonso, yes, he gives us that advantage, but he ain't recovering. If we miss on a pass, he is not recovering. And Salah is going to run amok on that side. So
maybe Salah over there, maybe Salah left wing back. It makes us very defensive with the two wing backs.
He can't cross the ball to save his life, though, can he?
Do you know what the big issue is here? And I want to get Grizz's take on the way that he would want us to set up from a Liverpool perspective to give them the best chance. Hudson-Odoi is a massive miss here, because if Hudson-Odoi was available, you've got the go between both. You've got the pace, but you've also got someone that knows the position quite well, good going forward, but has the recovery to get back. I think he gives
as a wing back.
Yeah, as a wing back.
Okay.
I think he gives you a bit of both. It's a shame Reece James is not here as well, because then maybe it would counterbalance Malang Sarr playing at the left. But Grizz, what would you love to see if you was to say that's Chelsea's team sheet and defensively this is their shape? What would you love to see with Diaz and Mane and Salah all fresh and ready to go?
So look, I think it's intriguing chat, and this is exactly what I was saying on my channel as well. That you couldn't get more opposites from playing Leeds United on a Wednesday, right? And just turning up, because people see the scoreline 6-0. And people have been telling me, Grizz, what game was you watching? And I was like, watching the same game as you. And I've been watching this team forever and ever and ever. I'm telling you, we didn't come out of second gear.
Wow.
No, it was no.
Leeds are awful defensively.
Yeah,
Leeds are horrid.
No, Younes, that's not bigging Liverpool up. That's cussing Leeds. Like,
completely. They can't defend, save their lives.
It was a matter of turning up. I didn't give a shit if Alisson, that Alisson thing, even if he scored, turned around and smashed into his own goal, I wouldn't have cared. I knew we would have won 7-8-1. Right? I didn't care about that incident. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is nervousness." It's not. Alisson's just, he likes his meat. He's probably had a barbecue the night before. That's what it was. But and I said it as soon as that game finished. I said the Chelsea game. Forget the trophy. Forget the priority list. In terms of it's the fourth most important, whatever. The fact that it's Chelsea. And the fact that it's such a tactical culture and such a team that relies on tactics and minute and listening to you guys, right? I was intrigued, and that's why I just sat back and tried to soak it all in, right? Listening to you guys, but it's true, because that's what Tuchel has tried to do to the Chelsea fan base in terms of thinking very strategically about each game. And your guys' mindset is a slight indication of how Tuchel likes to approach big games, and that is to negate your weaknesses as opposed to let's go and try to dominate. And this is what Matisse, I always tell Matisse, and we obviously do it in a banter way, but on a serious way, this is why, this is where you guys are at, where you're reaching for that next stage to try to dominate, impose yourself, as opposed to control the others and worry about others and then sort of pick out the most defensive formation you can and then hit them in the counter. And that's why I always thought that you're not going to be Man City, Liverpool. You're going to be just falling short. I didn't think it's going to be this. It's not even that, actually. You're only about 6-7 points, I think, behind. I think something. It's not even too bad at all.
Too bad,
I think it's something like that. So, but that's about right. I think with Sunday, I when I done the preview for the league game, everyone was like, I don't know if this is going to play. I picked your team. I knew the team he's going to pick. And I pretty much know. But now the fact that injuries and situation, it might be a bit tricky. But if everyone was fit, I know the team that you're going to pick against us. And it's going to be Kova and Kante in midfield. It's going to be Mount, Pulisic, and Havertz. Yeah, and your back five. There's no way you're playing a 4 against us.
Yeah,
There's absolutely zero chance you're playing 4 with Azpilicueta and
at right back versus Diaz.
You're not doing that. Tuchel is way too smart. The only dilemma now that I wanted to ask you guys is it's obviously Jorginho wasn't played in midweek, and obviously Ziyech, by all accounts, it seemed to be your form guy, like Younes said, the first name on the team sheet. That changes it. Maybe I shouldn't be so confident in picking your team now, because without doubt, from a Liverpool fan point of view, Kova and Kante is the fucking kryptonite. Those two are, they were outstanding. Absolutely outstanding, and didn't. Obviously, taking into consideration we had Henderson and Milner in there, and Fabinho had just come back, and we were like playing like it was like three men playing in their 40s, like that performance. It won't be that performance in midfield. I can assure you, and I can guarantee you. And whatever people say about Klopp might be a hug and fist pump merchant, whatever, but he learns very quickly. He's a very quick learner. From a Liverpool tactical point of view, I can tell you, he learns, he soaks things in, and he learns. He won't let Chelsea dominate the midfield like he did. I think it's intriguingly set up because from our side, Pulisic is always a threat against us. Now, I know you guys talk about his consistency and whatnot, but Pulisic, his attributes are, Trent's worst nightmare, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, I don't know if, and Mount, I mean, Chelsea fans, I see a lot of division, even split sometimes about Mason Mount. I rate Mason Mount very highly, man. Obviously, you guys see him much more than me. I'm not going to pretend that I know him better than you guys. Of course not. But Mason Mount is a problem for me, like from an opposition fan point of view. I just think he's always up for these big games. And I know sometimes people frown upon up for it. Well, everyone should be up for it. But like some people, some characters you need in that team because they have that extra drive.
Yeah.
So Henderson may not be as talented as a Naby Keita. Henderson, of course, isn't as talented as a Naby Keita or Elliott, but Henderson will be one of the first names on that team sheet on Sunday because he has that extra drive. Now, Mason Mount may not be Ziyech's technical ability, maybe, I don't know, but Mason Mount, I think he'll be a problem. My two danger men would be absolutely Kante and Mason Mount if he played. That's my personal opinion, and I think 100% they will play. The Jorginho one, I don't know, guys. Fill me in. Is he dropped? Do you think, or was he rested for Sunday in mind? Because that's a bit confusing now. Because we're pretty much going to play the same team, barring Henderson for Curtis Jones. I think what Younes said that it should be the same team that played Tuesday for you guys.
Yeah.
I would tend to agree, but I don't know what the situation is. What do you guys think?
Alonso and Aspie played at the game at Stamford Bridge. They were part of that. I do remember Kante and Cover covering the globe in terms of they covered that midfield. They really did get work done. And my thing is that we can also almost cover up the weakness of the wing backs being quite slow, but them actually being probably the most experienced, because this is a cup final, so there's a lot of experience comes into this as well, and it's partly why I look at Alonso and Aspie, just because of they've played in the big games as well. If you're going to go with Alonso and Aspie, I think you have to start Cover and Kante in midfield, and you have to start Mason Mount in there as well. I brought him up earlier. You have those three police in midfield that can cover ground, and that's where Jorginho wouldn't come into it. Whereas if you are playing Jorginho, then I'd agree with Miz and Younes. I think Malang Sarr's got to be involved in some capacity. I still wouldn't go to the 4, because I feel like, and we're gonna get onto this in terms of like rockets being shot up arses with our attack. Well, Liverpool's is on that and tenfold, because Diaz has made Mane 10 times better now, and he's trying overhead kicks back-to-back games, and he's pulling it off now in the last one. Salah obviously saw the AFCON final, watched his teammate score against him and win the trophy in front of his eyes. That's put a fire in his belly. And Jota has done exactly the same for Firmino. As we've already seen the output and how devastating that is. I think he's got 12 goals. Havertz and Werner, since they signed for Chelsea in the Premier League, have got 13 combined.
We've actually got the top 3 assisters in the Premier League, and the top 3 goal scorers in the league.
Is what I'm talking about.
Wow.
To go for, I get what Ryan is saying, because I heard it on the byline. To go with like from a numerical standpoint, we're going with less defenders, quote unquote, because you're going with 4 out-and-out defenders instead of 5.
You won't do that.
I just can't see us doing that.
There's not even a doubt in my mind that your 3 will be Christensen, Rudiger, and Silva, and they're your best 3, and they've been outstanding, and they've been the major foundation of your defensive solidity and success. He won't tinker with that against probably the best attack in Europe. He'll be a madman. It'll be like a Pep type madness, blunder howler in a big game if you've done that. Tuchel's not like that. I don't think.
We talk about Alonso needing cover for Rudiger. We don't talk about Azpilicueta gassing out a lot of the time because he's getting older and needing cover from Christensen or needing cover from Trevor. And that's what he got in this game here in the 2-2 draw. If you put Azpilicueta in a back 4 and give him a quick, hungry Diaz, who's slotted into this Liverpool team for fun, and you ask whoever plays at right flank, I don't know, Ziyech to cover him. Ziyech will obviously work hard, but you're taking a lot of energy, and this is what we tend to do. We tend to take away a lot of energy from our forwards by asking them to do Willian-esque, defensive work. And then when they get into the final third to make decisions, it's lacking a little bit. And I know Ziyech has performed very well in the back four, but it's been against a Tottenham team that we've dominated, and at the weekend, Palace or whoever we played against. But Liverpool, we're not going to dominate, and it's going to be a lot of work. So I think you need them wing backs to be a bit more maybe defensive, because listen, we're going to have to defend anyway. We're just going to have to accept that. I know we want to approach it in a positive manner, but I think Liverpool are the slight favourites in this game, and they're coming into this game in form as well. I think, have you guys won 5 out of your last 5 in the Premier League or something? No.
6 out of 6, yeah.
Yeah, 6 out of 6.
We're on the back of 7 wins in a row, all competitions.
That was Chelsea's only good performance since the turn of the break of 2 weeks is against Lille. The performance in the World Cups were iffy. The Crystal Palace performance wasn't great either, and so on. I mean,
not really countering that. I hear. Look, I'll be very surprised if we play a back four as well. I think Younes will say the same thing as well. I think this was more
completely
of a hypothetical that we're thinking, how can we be balanced? Because at the end of the day, we need to attack and win this game as well. So
it's a final. Yeah,
it's a final. I think the worst case we can do in this match is if we just sit back and allow Liverpool dictate. We cannot do that, because there's only one result if we allow them to dictate. Salah, Mane, Diaz will score goals. If we allow them to play the way they want to play, and we soak up and we defend and we look for the counter, they will get us. Do
you think so though? Because I look at it in a way where I think a lot of our attackers are actually suited to counter-attacking football. We've spoken about this on the show before about the kind of mind fuck in the terms of we want to, and I promised the father I wouldn't swear, but that was my moment there. Sorry. When I was at the game against Lille, he came up to me. He's like, "My children watch your shows all the time, but please can you not swear?" We're getting there, all right? We're getting there. But Havertz is probably suited to transitions and counters and space. Pulisic has been devastating in behind defenses, 1v1 on goalkeepers. Werner, if he gets involved, we saw him at Anfield last season, great into the space, didn't get a goal or assist, but he was dangerous. Lukaku, if he comes on off the bench, again, is another counter. Everyone is really actually suited to counterattack. Chelsea's issue is when they actually try and dominate and try and pick the lock and try and get through the defense and try and get through the small gaps. Do you think I'm not saying that we should defend and be Jose Mourinho Conte-esque here, but do you think, Miz, that just giving Liverpool a little bit, and we just sitting off and saying a 45-55 split and just saying, do you know what? Thiago is playing, Jorginho isn't. The likelihood is that they're going to have more possession than us. But that's okay, because the defense is the best part of our game. Liverpool actually don't play as well when they have to break open a defense as well. I think you'll see Liverpool get less goals when they have to come up against a low block and they have to find their way through. Whereas if they come up against a Leeds who are wide open, or we come onto them and allow them to counter, then Salah's devastating on the break. Diaz is devastating on the break. Mane, if we allow them to have space on this big Wembley pitch because we're trying to force the issue, I think it's a wrap for us in that regard. So, I mean, that's kind of my counter to your counter, but we'll go for it.
And to counter that, I suppose, is that we're playing counter-attacking football right here.
This is like watching Mourinho Conte.
This is in our DNA. This is what we do. We're counter-attackers. Look, there will be phases where we are going to be like that, where we will see that they're the dominant force at the moment. They've got the ball, they've got lion's share, and we'll soak it up. But what I'm trying to say is that you cannot do that for 90 minutes. There has to be moments in the game where we need to counter-press them. So if they've got the ball, we got to try and win it high up, much like the way Kante did against Lille. Lille were very good in pressing, in handling, like controlling the ball, and in transition, they were very quick as well, and their passing was fantastic. But what Kante did was he was able to counter-press and win the ball high up and put us in a very dangerous and saucy situation up front. And I feel like we need to be in those scenarios against Liverpool. We have to catch Trent out. We have to have Matip and Van Dijk 2v3. we need to push them. Do you know what I mean? We cannot have them comfortable the entire match where they feel like nothing's going to happen. And the only thing that can happen is if they screw up in our final third and we go for a counter. We have to catch them out when they're building up.
I totally agree with you. Like, that is how to play us. But what you find when you play us, when we have the back four that we're going to have, is we're probably the best. Our back four is the most technically gifted in Europe on the ball. So when we were playing you, for example, at Stamford Bridge, we had Konate, we had no Matip, we had Trent coming back from COVID that first game, and we had no Robertson. Yeah.
Timikas was playing.
Yeah. It's when Matip, Robertson, Van Dijk, and what teams find is when they, like, do you remember Arteta talked about it? Because when we try to go and press them, they've got such technical ability, they will pick out a pass. And if we bypass, if you're asking Kante to go and press, I think you're asking for trouble against us. Especially if you're suggesting that it's only going to be two in midfield. I think you guys were alluding to maybe two, or was
no, I think it's three. It's got to be three. Yeah, Fabinho, Thiago, and either Elliot or Henderson. Yeah.
No, for you guys.
Oh, for us. Well, if Mason plays, it will match to be a three. But my main issue is that Thiago's now playing. So if we're talking about pressing, this is one of the most press-resistant midfielders, and Fabinho.
Because
also.
I think it's 100% going to be three. I genuinely think it's going to be three, and I think it's going to be Mount. You guys may think it's Ziyech, but I think it's going to be Mount.
Yeah.
Because if you leave Wembley 2-3, and we're going to play totally different from Stamford Bridge. I know a lot of Chelsea fans may have the Chelsea game, the Stamford Bridge game in their heads. It's not going to be like that.
It's not the same. No,
it's not.
No, of course.
Because our back four, I tell you why, not because of the setup in midfield we're going to have, it's because of our back four. We're so good on the ball, people. We've got Matip and Van Dijk who are midfielders, and Trent and Robertson are Trent and Robertson. Yeah, Trent is a midfielder. And so, therefore, trying to press them is not as easy as saying, go and just press them. Every team does that against us, tries that against us. But it's very difficult because once we break the line in midfield, if you've only got two in there, it's going to be a problem. But I'm hoping that you play two. But if you play three, and if you play that three, which is Kovacic, Mount, and Kante, then it's going to be such a battle in there because those three are full of energy. Just to add as well before Miz goes again, I think Lille, there were a few transitions and they didn't make us pay. I think Liverpool will. That's the difference. Their transitions were on a patch on sort of, what we would probably
Liverpool
if we press them and they play out and Salah, Mane and Diaz are 3v4 against our attack or whatever, that's where I think we're in the most danger. Whereas those attackers against low blocks where we're a little bit more, everybody's in their positions. And again, I don't want us to be too defensive, but to negate their strengths, I think it's very important that we don't give them that space to run into, because when they're running at you, I think even Rudiger, I don't think Rudiger's strength is really dealing with players running at him 1v1. He's good, touch tight, physical battles, stepping in front of players, headers, duels. But if you ask Rudiger, and we saw it with Dennis, remember when Ruben gave the ball away against Watford and then bang, everything just opened up and Dennis was just running at Rudiger in the box, jousting with him, and then he scores. I think if you get their attackers, going 1v1 with our defenders on breaks, I think it'll be a disaster for me. And
this is the balance I was talking about, and I'm sure we'll hear what Younes has to say when he mentioned Malang Sarr or the back four. What do? Do you play with a Sarr to give us that, that option that we don't get burnt on that left side? Because if you play with Alonso, what you're saying, Matisse, you're still going to get burnt. Do you know what I mean? So from that perspective, that's where the balance conversation comes in. But to also say what Grizz was saying, like ball players, you guys 100% undoubtedly Van Dijk, Matip, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's probably a camp, who's probably a creative midfielder from that right side, Robertson as well. But I think what a lot of people don't talk about is we've got a lot of ball players in our defense. There's a reason why we've been playing possession-based football since Sarri days, is because now we've got Christensen, Thiago Silva, Rudiger. Not many people talk about his ability to play the ball, the driving runs that he's been making as well. Our back three are very comfortable with the ball, very, very comfortable. Alonso as well, as much as his deficiencies when it comes to ball control, is not that bad. He's made some really good passes as well in recent times. So in terms of ball playing and also Kovacic, Kante, we can pretty much match you guys when it comes to being able to play ball, because that's what we've been doing since Sarri days. That's now within our remit. So I feel like, bottom line, what I'm trying to say before Younes goes on this is that I don't want, I want to show respect, but I don't want to show too much respect, because I feel like if we do that, we might as well just say wrap. It's a wrap, because I feel like this Liverpool team, as great as they are, there are chinks in the armor, and we can potentially, manipulate that. And of course, we've got chinks in our armor as well. No doubts about that. But I don't want to sit in that final and just see a barrage of Liverpool attack after Liverpool attack, and hope that we put up a clinical display in defense and squeeze that one goal, because I feel
we're better than that.
Can be got. It's not that Man City situation. I don't expect it to be a Champions League final the way we played against City. I feel like Thomas Tuchel will have a go at Klopp. That's just my personal take.
I think maybe the best thing in terms of balance is to have a bit of possession, like you said, but maybe do it from a mid-defensive block. Don't go too high up. Don't push onto the halfway line and leave the whole half, and look to dominate that way. Have the possession, but make sure it's in a mid-defensive block, so you're not too far away from your goal from a pace perspective on the counter, and then you just manage the situation there. I mean, Younes, what are you thinking in terms of all this with all the different options here?
You see, this is the thing. This is why I'm saying Tuchel's going to have a headache, because in my gut, I don't want to give, as Grizz has rightly said, in terms of what they have, the ability that they have on the ball is ridiculous. The technical ability is there. The way that they're able to spread and move and get a counter, get an attack launched is unbelievable. I don't want to give them that room and that space, because if we were to sit back and just try and wait, I still think there's enough ability to get through us. And yes, we might defend really well. But even this season, we've seen lapses in our defense, which we didn't really have last season. And I truly think, especially down to Reece James and Chilwell not being available, that's a stronghold that we don't have in our defense. If we had them, I'd happily be like, okay, you know what? Let's maybe sit back a little bit, contain and try and launch that counter, because I think it'd be harder for Liverpool to get through. But I think they have so much talent that if you were to just allow them to have the ball and they come at you, they are going to work, Mendy. Chances are they will score. And the worst thing is to just allow them to play and go 1-0 down. If that happens, I'll be really worried at that point. But I truly think that if we were to just, yes, we have to defend well. We just need to keep winning the ball back at any given moment we have, and try and keep the ball as much as possible. We do that. Hopefully we can at least try and put them on the back foot. We have to put in our mind that they are going to launch some counters. I do think it's going to be a hybrid game for both teams. It's going to be a case where both teams can play with the ball, can have possession, but can launch a counter-attack. And Liverpool can do it. We can do it. Their attack, let's have it right, better than ours. Defensively, though, we know we have what it takes to be able to get through, at least on some occasions. So this is why I'm saying keep the ball. Keep the ball. Try and press, as you said, not too high. Little bit high, though. If we press, let's say, from about a mid sort of level, tops, that'll be okay. But to just sit back and allow them the ball, I think we'll get destroyed if that were to happen. Unless we put in a defensive masterclass, which I don't expect.
No, what I was trying to say, was I don't think you're going to sit back. I think you're going to press from the midfield. I don't think you're going to release any of your midfielders to go and press. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry. What I was saying was I don't think any of your central midfielders will be asked to go and press our.
You got to stay compact if you're going to move up the pitch. Just everybody stay together.
Absolutely,
that's got to be the front three.
You absolutely, you got to have your front three doing that work. That's what I was trying to say. Like if you can, if you ask your midfielders, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble, because everyone talks about Trent's, ability to set pieces and create. In my opinion, and I've always said this, when you see him live, you realize that his breaking the lines passing is like I've never seen before from a fullback. That's his biggest strength, people. It's not his set pieces and his free kicks and his goals and assists, whatever. Of course, that's all great. But consistently, how he breaks lines from that right back position into midfield is I've never seen it. It's like having a Steven Gerrard or a Kevin De Bruyne from there, how he manages to pick out a pass into midfield. Every single move you notice, you probably look out for it now that, because once someone mentions it, you look out for it more. and then you appreciate it more, but it goes unnoticed. But if you have your three midfield, because how many times have we seen Chelsea, control games without having the ball? The best example was, against Man City last season, where they had a lot of the ball, but you controlled the whole game, I thought. Never, ever in threat. And I think Chelsea are one of the best teams in Europe at controlling the game without having the majority of the possession, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game tactically. I'm every time Chelsea and Liverpool play each other, it always is very, very interesting, especially with Tuchel and Klopp now. Of course, it always is very, very interesting.
Just like Younes said, Tuchel's got headaches. Klopp has definitely got headaches because he was out-coached in that game, and he would have hated that. So there's headaches for both teams. It's so intriguingly set up, man. Yeah. And I mean, it's mad. It's like, I know it's a League Cup, but we put that to the side. This is one of the big games of Europe for sure.
One thing I want to point out really quick, just in terms of a mindset that Chelsea need to be in, is to not be hesitant and in that mode of, as Miz said, showing a bit too much respect. You have to show a little bit, but not too much. You saw when we went 2-0 down at the Bridge. All of a sudden, it was like, all right, we've got nothing to lose. Let's go for it. Boom, it was 2-2. Do you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be a level of, let's actually go for it. It's a final, Don't panic. Don't just sit back and have a little bit of cautiousness. Like, you got to be a bit cautious, but not too much. And that's what I thought at that game at the Bridge. I thought we were quite poor up until it was 2-0 to Liverpool. And then we thought, screw it, let's go for it. And it worked. So, there has to be an element of that in a final. There's a trophy to win. Let's go for it. Yeah.
It's going to be a mad game. I want to end on a combined 11 and predictions. And before we do that, Grizz, I hear your goalkeeping situation. Klopp is confirming that the Carabao Cup goalkeeper will start. Is it who is it that will start this game?
Yeah, he does this, man. He does this. Kelleher, but isn't it the same for you guys?
He's good though.
Isn't it the same?
Nah, in the final, Mendy, mate.
We're not playing that game again. We did that last year against Leicester. Yeah, we're not doing that again.
Unless it's going to penalties. If it's going to penalties, Kepa comes on.
Tuchel's confirmed it in the couple of press conferences ago. Chelsea number 1 is Mendy.
Okay.
He said Kepa's done well. Yeah. Chelsea number 1 is Mendy.
Nah, that makes sense. But Klopp's mad, isn't it? He does shit like that, man.
Kelleher's good though.
Kelleher's a very, very good keeper. But like he showed in that game, he's not Alisson, man. He played in that game against you guys, didn't he? At Stamford Bridge as well.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. It's a total, that game, I know a lot of Chelsea fans have been reminding me about that game, but, I know, it's a whole different team we're going to have out in terms of the back five, and that makes a huge difference to us.
Just a quick question, Grizz. I know it's a cup and it's still a serious thing. Everyone wants to win, lift a trophy. But when's your next Premier League game? Because you guys are a sniff for that side of the situation as well.
You're in the top race.
Is this a particular match where you go gun-ho, make sure you lift a trophy? I mean, when's the next Premier League game coming up for you guys? Because I'm pretty sure you'd be focused on that.
I think it's about 10 days left for the next league game. So
they look after you guys out there, right? Like,
no.
FA looks after you guys.
No, but that's not our next game. We've got
Champions League.
We've got Champions League and FA Cup before that.
Yeah.
So our schedule's mad. It's like 4 games in 10 days. It's
3 points behind Manchester City.
I was hoping there'd be a Premier League game very close by. Maybe Klopp thinks about that, because obviously you'd want to win the Premier League.
Absolutely. This is absolutely. I'm not going to suddenly turn into a hypocrite and say, this is the most important game. It's really not. The only reason I'm talking it with such intensity and passion is because it's Chelsea. I still think Chelsea and Liverpool are 2 of the top 5 teams in Europe, without a doubt in my head, and that's what makes it amazing. Amazingly balanced.
Are we gonna, with this combined 11? Are we gonna go off form? Players that also will be available. I mean, the only person missing is Firmino for Liverpool. We've got a few players missing. Formation as well. How do we?
This one's going to be tough, Matisse. This is so tough.
It's tough. It is very tough.
It's not going to make sense to a certain degree.
I think, considering we've also played a back 4, then I think it has to be a back 4 formation.
Let's do that. Yeah.
And I think in terms of
there's going to be a lot of Liverpool players. You do know that
there will be.
There'll be a lot of Liverpool players.
I think the setup.
Can I do it in a weird way and say can I say the two players that walk into our team? That's
Go on.
Okay.
a good way of starting.
Yeah.
And then we can debate the rest. Like, I'm being fair here, right?
Yeah.
Thiago Silva and Kante walk into our team. That's walk into our team. I'm not even going to debate.
Okay. I like that.
Can you imagine Thiago Silva and Virgil van Dijk?
Oh, that would be ridiculous.
Oh my God. Good luck breaking that defense.
Thiago Silva, I think Matthias has heard me. Thiago Silva is one of my favorite centre backs of the last decade. He's the Lucio of the previous decade in terms of.
Big up Lucio.
Lucio, man. Lucio was a fantastic defender.
Lucio was my favorite player. And Thiago is that. Thiago, it's so unfortunate that he had to go to you guys. You know, I love this guy. This guy is amazing, and he's so not talked about enough. People talk about Ramoses and all these, PKs and Virgil van Dijks and Thiago Silva.
Unbelievable defender.
He's complete.
Yeah. I wish he had joined Chelsea 10 years earlier because God.
Him and JT would have been outrageous.
No disrespect to Carvalho and whatnot. I mean, he was unbelievable as well.
Back three.
Carvalho. Another one. Every time I'm involved in any Premier League 11, Carvalho, I always push Carvalho. I usually get bullied off, in fact, picking him in the end, but Carvalho is always in my conversation.
And Kante in your midfield. I mean, Klopp would love Kante, wouldn't he? On that right side.
Fabinho, Kante, and Thiago, and wow.
That's game over. That's game over.
I don't know where you go with that. I don't know how you combat that in any way, shape, or form. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Grizz is right. Those are the two players that I was thinking that makes into the.
Yeah. They've got the
rest are all Liverpool players.
On form, is it fair to say that Rudiger and Van Dijk is definitely a conversation on form?
Not in a form, man. Come on, not in a form.
I mean, look, I sometimes see. I know Grizz, he disrespects at times Rudiger. I've seen him in social media or whatever. Rudiger is probably one of the best. But the thing about Rudiger is he predominantly has been playing as LCB, so we can't really comment too much about because he's only played a handful of games in a 4. That's why I was asking Matisse what formation. If it's a formation in a 3, Rudiger definitely as LCB. You still have Van Dijk probably as a middle guy or maybe as a RCB, but in a 4, it's too difficult to go away from Van Dijk and Silva.
Miss, with the disrespect thing, I joke. Right?
Yeah.
You better be joking. I'm onto you.
It's true. Rudiger has my utmost respect from where he's turned around his Chelsea career. He was out your door. He was
big time.
People mocked, calamitous, all this business. As a man marker, you give him a job, he's got so much, and I don't know if you guys agree, but I'm telling you, he's got so much Gallas about him, William Gallas.
Yeah.
You give him a job, you give him you give someone to mark, he'll put him out of the game. He'll do what he's got to do to put him out of the game. I just don't rate
mercenary.
Yeah, absolutely, Younes. I just don't rate him when people were calling him for Ballon d'Or nominations. That's where I was a bit countering their,
not enough credit going towards the system.
Claims. But Rudiger in a 4, I'm yet to see him at
Which formation gets me the most Chelsea players in?
It's a 3.
Because we're going to lose anyway.
Look, it's going to be Liverpool front 3.
Yeah, 100%.
That's not even a discussion, is it?
Yeah, it's not a conversation.
And you know what, Younes? Even Liverpool will struggle who they're going to pick their front 3 because they've got so many.
We've got so many. I know.
There's five Liverpool attackers that get ahead of all of our attackers. As I said, I read out the statistic. Jota has 12 goals this season. Havertz and Werner have 13 since the start of last season combined. In the
Matisse, Ziyech is a distant candidate from Chelsie, and he's the only one. We're like, yo, Ziyech, are you? Yeah, I think I can see you there. Do you know what I mean?
Here's a mad one. Here's a mad one. Now, Liverpool fans will, if any Liverpool fans hear this, they're going to go mad on me.
Goalkeeper.
If you want to play a back 5, if you want to choose a back 5, there is a very good debate for Reece James ahead of Trent in a back 5.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Reece James, but then
because Trent isn't up and down like Reece Williams would. Reece James gets behind, fullbacks, pitching across.
Yeah.
Trent is a footballer, and how he's molded into playing in a back four. You know, Reece hasn't proved that, whereas Trent hasn't proved that in a back five. If you get what I mean. So that's
it's strange, isn't it? Because you look at Trent and you think defensively is probably the only part of his game where you can look to take him out. So in a back three, you definitely think, okay, Trent's got less defensive responsibility.
But it doesn't suit his attributes.
Doesn't suit him, isn't it? It doesn't
suit his strengths. His strengths is
because then he'd have to cover the whole flank, and that's not what he wants to do. He wants to tuck inside. I see Trent so often come into the middle. He's playing cam.
He's like the cam.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's revolutionized that.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm being as fair as I can here, people. You know what I mean?
But you know what, Grizz? You would still try your level best to somehow fit Trent, because if you're doing a combine and leaving someone like Trent out, who's such a baller, yes, there's defensive.
But then we are
issues.
Like I rate, you know, as I said, I rate Mount very highly. You know, I rate Kovacic. Oh my God. You know, Kovacic is a shout. You know, you know,
it's not easy.
It's not easy.
The left back situation is easy because Chilwell's out and Robertson's proved it for year in, year out. The front three is easy as well. The midfield is obviously difficult, and there's some defenders we can throw in there. But I think with Alisson versus Mendy, I think Alisson has made a few errors leading to goals. I've seen it this season. It's not been all polished and clean from Alisson. What's your take on it, Grizz? Obviously, he's not playing this game, but in a combined.
It has, but it's not even a question. He saves us more than he costs us. Every goalkeeper's errors are highlighted. So, and especially when Liverpool's, because we don't concede many at all anyway. So people can talk about 6-7 errors in the last 2 years, and they're glaring errors. But that's 6-7 errors, man.
Yeah.
In 2 years. Like I could tell you them, I can remember them errors, you know, Spurs, West Ham. Yeah, count them on my hand, literally.
West Ham,
But people won't look at the highlights and saves he makes. He's fucking insane. He makes saves and he makes them look easy, and that's the beauty of a goalkeeper. It doesn't have to be spectacular like Ramsdale and Pickford. They're acting every time. This guy don't act. This guy don't act. He plucks balls out and you don't notice it, but it's a fucking mad save. But he would just catch it, you know, shit like that. Huge, but he has been making errors 100%. Yeah, he has. But Alisson, man, over Mendy.
Come on,
I would take
world's
Mendy,
best goalkeeper, the African champion, Jermaine, world champion as well.
Yeah, you can say that 100%. We shouted at it from the rooftop, so by all means, you have to shout it from the rooftops as well, man. 100%.
Let's finalize with predictions. Hopefully, the abductor puts Younes back in his chair before we're finished with the predictions. But we'll start going around this way. I mean, I'll probably start with mine to give him a bit more time. I went with 2-1 in extra time for Palmeiras. I went with 2-1 extra time in Twitch. I'm going to stick with 2-1 extra time. I think this is going to be so tight. I wouldn't be surprised if it went to penalties. But I do think we can nick it in extra time, hopefully. So I'm going to go with that. It would maybe like a Timo Werner off the bench. Who knows? Maybe Lukaku comes off the bench. I think Lukaku coming off the bench not only suits us, but suits him, because hopefully by that point, people are a bit more tired. Maybe then a Lukaku coming on can prove himself, can go up against a few tired legs and maybe work something. Whereas if you're starting obviously on the zero, you know, everybody's got the same energy and he's just not going to be able to handle it. So I go 2-1 extra time. Miz, what about you for your prediction for this?
I feel like our determination is going to be very high. Not just the forwards. In recent times as well, we've proven being 2-0 behind. We've come back. Even at Anfield, we were 1-0 up. And then obviously a freak sort of incident that made it 1-1. But even then, masterclass in defending and then making sure Liverpool was cut out for the rest of the game. And then prior to that, I think last season, it was Mason Mount with a glamorous goal as well. So we are building slowly as to how we can topple Liverpool. And I feel like now is the best opportunity of where we are. I feel like we're going to win probably extra time as well, maybe 2-1. But if not, if in 90 minutes, it could be a 1-0 job from us. But if it's extra time, 2-1.
And Grizz, what about you and your prediction for this one?
Yeah, it's definitely extra time job. I've said it from day one. I think it's going to be very tight. I went for 1-0. I'm going to stick with that 1-0 in extra time. I think there's a very good chance of penalties. Very, very good chance of penalties. And that's why, your reserve keeper may come on, because we know you like bringing them on. And I mean, it'd be interesting if we bring in our keeper if it's penalties, Alisson comes off the bench. But actually, this guy Kelleher won us the penalty shootout. So yeah. Well, it's going to be tight, man. There's absolutely no drama in terms of one team walking away with it or anything.
I hope the referee allows a fair game for both sides and none.
You don't want the referee to become the talking point, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. There's going to be. I don't think both teams will, on that pitch on Wembley. There's no chance of both teams being able to intensely press for 90 minutes. It's just not physically possible, especially after the grueling schedules we both have had. Yeah, we've had 4 games in 10 days. You've been to all around the world, coming back. So I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a quick, fast pace as people are anticipating. I think it's going to be a very calculated, slow game. It's going to be more like a European game as opposed to sort of a Premier League, like the Stamford Bridge game. It's going to be totally opposite.
Yeah, and that's where Jorginho might. You never know.
This is my point.
This is the thing.
You lot were talking about trying to keep the ball. This is what makes me think. I don't know, man. You guys, man, what is your prediction? Is Jorginho going to play or not? Because it's a massive way of. It's a total different way of playing. With him
off the ball with the space that's on that pitch, you'd look at Kova and Kante to cover the space, especially with them wing backs being slow. But if we're talking about having the ball, and like Miz and Younes were saying, just trying to have a bit of the share of possession so we don't get. Jorginho's the best in the team at keeping the ball and maneuvering it around and getting other people on his wavelength and having some possession. Every time we have Jorginho on the pitch, we have more possession. Every time he comes off the pitch, we have less possession. It happens every single time. It happened. Yeah. It happened against Al Hilal. I think we completely lost possession in the second half. So it's interesting. But Younes, prediction for this, we will give an ours. What's your prediction, I guess, for this game?
Oh man, I think this is probably the hardest prediction of the season. It's a final. I'd want to think that we're going in it at least in a really good mindset. We've won the Club World Cup. We've come back. Yeah. We've played well. Beat Lille in a good way. So we're feeling good. We're feeling good. I think it'll be narrow. I agree with Grizz. I don't think it's going to be a crazy game where it finishes 3-2 or something mad. It won't. I hope that we'll just be able to contain quite well, dominate the game, good portions of it. I'm going with something narrow. I'm going to go Chelsea. I'll go Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1.
Okay, in normal time.
And I'm saying that obviously just because I want Chelsea to win, but it's a final, and hopefully we do it. So I'll go 2-1.
But it's interesting. All 4 of us actually have said extra. Younes, are you saying extra time or normal 9 minutes?
Oh,
we've all gone extra time.
We've all gone extra time. Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
I want to do this in 90. I don't want this to go further than that.
I'm going to the game, so I really don't need to see this go to extra time. I'll be sweating. Are you going, Grizz? I'm sure you're going, aren't you?
It's touch and go at the moment. Touch and go. Yeah.
Well, if it does go to penalties, I'll have just like the Club World Cup final. I'll feel more at ease if it went to penalties than us just going through extra time. So. Actually, not. Is there extra time in the Carabao Cup?
Oh, there will. Yes. I'm sure, yeah.
For the final.
It would never skip.
For the final, there is.
Yeah,
okay, cool. Yeah. I'd like to do it in 90. I'm calling it in 90. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went to extra time. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's the hardest game to predict.
Very, very hard.
Yeah,
We've just discussed it tactically, isn't it? We don't even know what's even going to happen on that pitch, let alone predictions. So,
by the way, which players got in terms of the combined 11? Which Chelsea players got in? Just 2?
we didn't go through it like player for player, but we kind of went through each category and came to a conclusion that we didn't win, basically.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
We didn't win in either formation. I tried to change formation midway through. It doesn't make no difference. Listen, it's been a brilliant show. I want to start thanking our special guest, Grizz, for coming on a second time, I think, on this show, at a minimum, maybe even 3, but definitely minimum of 2. And it's been brilliant, as always. Great discussion with how both teams will set up, etc. Grizz, let them know where to find you, man. Absolute pleasure, as always.
Always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. Just, it's been a few months. Just if any Chelsea fans want to hear my hot takes on Chelsea from a Liverpool fan point of view, Subscribe to GXNG TV. It's all fun and games. Really, I mean that. But yeah, man, appreciate that. Thank you. Just subscribe to GXNG TV if any of you get a chance to. Thank you.
Yeah, get it done, guys. The race for 10K is entitled in the title there. It's tagged, and make sure also that you click the description if you have to. I'm sure it'll be in the comments as well when this is premiering on the morning as well. Miz, let them know where to find you, bro. Pleasure as always.
No, 100%. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, Grizz does not mean that. He hates the Chelsea fan base. I see how he moves in social media, but I love it. The other thing that I want to say is that Grizz's channel is probably one of the very few rival fan channels that I tune into. And I love interacting as well on the live chat. He's running a fantastic establishment, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, you love the Chelsea content that Matisse and Younes, myself, we do. If you're ever looking for any sort of rival content and proper conversation, do tune into Grizz's channel. And
appreciate that, man.
There's a lot of good talk that's happening there, and you get to learn. I seriously just tune in to learn. From a Liverpool perspective. So big up to Grizz's channel.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Not a problem, man. But yeah, for me, ladies and gentlemen, the other side of the coin. We're going hard at the moment, trying to, obviously we've reached 10,000, and now the push is on 11,000, 12,000, so on and so forth. So yeah, make sure you subscribe.
And Younes, let them know where to find you, man. Absolutely killing it over there on Younes Talks Football.
It's doing all right.
It's doing
so
all right.
modest.
I love it.
Okay.
It's obviously the same sort of thing. Keeping up to date with what's going on. I gave a double upload yesterday, just in terms of Conte's madness at Spurs and him down in his tools, which we all predicted. Let's have it right. And yeah, Chelsea's affair in terms of what's happened, injuries, Roman, this, that, and the other. Now going forward, it's preview for the Carabao Cup final. The watch along I'll be doing for that. Obviously, these guys will be here at the game. I'll be giving the watch along. So will Miz, I'm sure of it, on his channel. And yeah, match review after that. And then we look forward, and hopefully it's not, everyone down and out. Everyone's all happy and buzzing because we've won a trophy. I mean, that'll be great. And then Liverpool, we wish you the best luck for the league. That will be, up to you if you can keep up. We couldn't keep up. So if you can keep up, that would be great.
Now, listen, I wish you all the best for the top 4 race, man. 100%. Hope you get in that top 4 race.
There's no race.
But I do want to stress as well to everyone watching, as the guys have already said, do check out Grizz. I appreciate you coming on as well, man. I think in terms of loads of other rival channels, you're definitely one of the most. You're a proper football person. I love to talk. You come with brain, and I love it. It's fantastic. So check out Grizz, man.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Big up, guys. So listen, smash up the icons, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And also, of course, look out for my Wembley preview as well later on tonight after this comes out. Just to round up on all the team news from the press conference, obviously, as well, that we'll get from Tuchel. And big up your damn selves. Make sure you're subscribed to all the channels. They're all linked. And I'll see you guys in a bit. The game is going to be a madness. I'll be there. Hopefully it don't end in tears. In a bit, people. Peace.